All right. I'm not sure if the intro actually started there. I'm not sure if like that randomly started on my side. It failed. Did it fail on your side, Nathan?
I saw it, man. I was invigorated by that.
Okay.
I saw it.
Okay. On my side, it didn't go. So I'm like, I don't know if I ended that early or what happened there, but whatever. We're
It
here
worked.
now. We have the amazing Nathan Payne. I met him off of, or started following him on social media, and I thought he seemed like a really, really cool guy. So I
Thank you.
really wanted to interview him on my podcast to see his story, all of that type of good stuff, right? And yeah, I just wanted to meet you and get to talk to you and all of that good stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
Appreciate it.
and yeah, that was basically it. So real quick for my audience, just give like a quick bio of your real estate journey, like what you've accomplished. Just a real quick bio before we get really into it.
Yeah. So, quick bio about me. I got started about 5, 6 years ago into wholesaling. Started with $0, no money at all. I told my wife, "Hey, I'm gonna quit my job and I'm gonna go all into wholesaling." And I had a business partner at the time. Like we both went into it, and my wife's like, "That's fine. Just figure it out. But just you know, just go ahead, right?" But with no money, right? And I was like, "Okay, I can figure it out." And so we did. We were knocking doors. We got one of our first deals from knocking doors. We were cold calling the expired listings list. Got a deal from that. Mail. I mean, you name it. We tried everything, and it was like literally like this for several years, just up and down, trying to do deals, and then eventually stabilized, figured it out. And then what happened is in 2000, well, a year or so ago, the interest rates really went up in Utah, where we were doing most of our deals. And my business partner's like, "Hey, man, you know what? It's getting harder to sell deals. I'm not really feeling this anymore." So he dipped, and I went off, and I was like, what has been the easiest way? My partner's gone. So what's been the easiest way to do deals? Well, the easiest way that I've been doing deals is through networking through my cash buyers, bringing them deals from other wholesalers or other agents, and just selling them that way, the painless way, the easy way. And that's all I do right now. And that's like, I used to have a big team. I don't anymore. It's just me, a virtual assistant. And yeah, it's pretty simple. No, literally no overhead, no marketing costs, and do a couple deals a month. Nothing crazy, not like what I was doing before, but I love the lifestyle I have, and I'm not really worried about much when it comes to the real estate side. So yeah, that's me. That's my baby.
I love that. I love that for so many different reasons. First off, I'm the same as you. I do all my deals through real estate agents and other wholesalers because you're right. It is the painless way. It's way easier than direct to seller, right?
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, like I love that because I really like the fact, first off, that you're super comfortable with the fact that's like, hey, we tried to do this big team. I didn't like it as much. I'm not into it. Instead, we just scaled down to just me and a virtual assistant, and that's what I'm really enjoying, right? Like I'm enjoying doing that instead of doing like the huge business route,
Yep.
not needing to do that necessarily as much. What inspired that decision to just be like, you know what, let's just go down like the me and one virtual assistant and like not go super crazy with like a
Uh,
crazy team?
Yeah, man, lifestyle, 100%. Because when I had the bigger team, we were spending about $30,000 to $50,000 a month on marketing. It like you felt like if you didn't get on every lead, that you were spending $500, $1,000 pay per click, whatever, that you were like burning your money. Right. So, like sometimes my team wouldn't want to answer the call. So I felt like I had to call the lead. And it's just, I was working nights, weekends. It wasn't like just a, 9 to 5 job, which, not being an entrepreneur really isn't, but still my wife was like, yeah, you're always working, blah, blah, blah. And I felt like I was, yeah. And I wasn't as happy, but now it's like, hey man, I don't have to make 30 to 40,000 or whatever to just cover marketing expenses. Not alone on top of that, like you have overhead, you got office, you have all this stuff. So now I was like, hey man, this lifestyle is a lot better. So to answer your question, it's just lifestyle and just being okay with the fact that I don't need to tell people that my business is revenue and generating millions of dollars to feel like I'm doing something. Like, yeah, I don't make millions of dollars right now, but I get to keep, instead of like 20, 30% profit, I
More
get
of
to
it.
keep like way more of it.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I feel like this should just be known to people. I mean, for me, right? Like I have a team right now. It's not like a huge team or anything, but I've got like employees and lots of VAs and all that stuff. And I'll be honest, like I'm there. It's like you have to either get to like 5 million in revenue, 5 to 10 million, where it starts becoming worth it, or you're making probably less or around the same as you're making if you're just a solopreneur. To this day, the most money to me was when it was just me and another VA, right?
That's it.
So in the end, like I totally get it. I think it should be promoted more. The idea of like, hey, you don't have to create a crazy business. You can just create like a really simple one and be super happy and make a freak ton of money,
Right.
right? And still have like an amazing lifestyle and all of that stuff. So I just want to say, like, I love that first off because too many people are trying to make the big business and it's just not worth it for a
Yeah,
lot of other humans, right? Uh,
exactly.
so yeah, man, I told you this like when the question I was gonna start with was when you were just starting out, it's in wholesaling real estate, what were your biggest fears and how did you overcome those fears?
Biggest fears. Mm. You know what? I'll be honest, like I'm not flexing on anyone, but I just wasn't scared because I came from the door. So I'll just tell you a little bit about my background. So I'm from the church. I go to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. People call us Mormons. So when I went on a mission, went up from 19 to age 21 for 2 years, I went on a mission where I would just approach people on the street every day about Jesus. I would just talk to people about Jesus. So you kind of get rid of like
Love it.
fear pretty quickly. You're like, I'm not really worried because if someone doesn't attack me or hurt me for 2 years from like just approaching them randomly, I'll probably be okay. And after that, after my mission, I went to college and I started doing door to door sales, selling Dish Network, door to door, Direct TV, and I had a gun pulled on me and like door to door, just some crazy stuff happened. So wasn't really too worried. I didn't die. I'm fine. So when it came to wholesaling, I was like, hey, it's just a different thing. I just need to talk to people about selling their houses. So wasn't too scared or worried about that. I kind of knew from years of approaching people and talking to people that nothing bad can happen to you. So that's kind of wasn't too worried. I will say when I was calling, the fear or the worry I had was like not knowing to say the right thing and like fumbling, but that wasn't like a fear. That was just like being uncomfortable. But I knew like through practice and doing it over and over again, you master any skill. So that's probably the one thing is like, oh man, I don't feel comfortable talking about to the seller and acting like I'm going to buy their house, that whole rigmarole. But that I would say those were it, like just talking, not knowing what I was talking about.
Gotcha. Which makes sense. I mean, I feel like that's everyone's first one, right? So, when you were like, how did you overcome that? Like, I mean, obviously, let's go back to let's start with the missionary stuff
Mhm.
because that's sales in and of itself,
Right.
and you're really developing that skill in the first place. How did you overcome, let's say, going up to people and talking about Jesus when I maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like I don't know where were you? Where were you doing the missionary work? I know you guys go all over the place, all
Yeah,
Mormons go.
yeah. I was called to serve in Portland, Oregon. So, or I was in
Okay,
Oregon
gotcha.
in the surrounding areas in that
So
area.
that's like an interesting one because it's a Christian country too, so they know about Jesus, right? Or
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
they know about Jesus.
Of
But
course.
how did you overcome the idea of like knocking on doors and like what did you have any techniques or were you just like screw it, I'm just gonna do it because I got to right now?
Well, on the mission, they kind of give you an idea of like what's how do you approach people? They call what we did inspired questions, like questions that are inspired from God and like that get people to think. Like, hey, have you ever thought of where you came from before this life and why you're here and where you're going after you die? Like those are inspired questions. So um that's kind of how I got ready for that and I translated that into wholesaling like hey I'm in the neighborhood, have you ever thought about selling or do you know anyone that is? So just asking questions, not being pushy, not being like hey I'm here to buy your house. So yeah, just approaching it that way and understanding that it's probably gonna be a no through doing sales and doing this. You almost get in your head like hey I'm always gonna get a no. So I just have to like smile and keep going and overcome the objection. But it's not I would just say that it's just be expecting the no, but don't like let it destroy you or like really bring you down.
Gotcha. And then like what skills do you feel like missionary work, how that translated to wholesaling, right? Was it like literally missionary work and then right after wholesaling?
Oh no. So do you mean like, did I go right from being a missionary to wholesaling? Is that what you're
Yeah.
saying? No. So I went
Yeah.
on my mission for my, when I was 19 to 21 years old. And then I got into wholesaling. I'm 32 now. So I got into wholesaling when I was like 27. So I
Okay.
went to college and did the door to door thing for like 6 years and then got into wholesaling. So the skills that translated from missionary work or door to door were just like, understanding that it takes a lot of no's to get a yes. And you have to uh,
Right.
learn through trial and error and the furnace, the fire of affliction, whatever, to progress and be better. So, like, if you suck at pitching novations right now, or if you suck at talking to agents, you're going to suck until you get better, like until you do it enough where you can improve and progress. So, that for me, that's all that's the skill set that I learned is just like, hey, bro, it just takes time. Maybe someone's way better than you, and it's not because they're more skilled. It's just they've done it more. They have more reps.
Yeah, 100%. I talk to my salespeople a lot about that, how it's like, you guys aren't like actually any better than me. I've just done this for so much longer than you. That's literally the only difference in the end, right? It's like I can give you guys pieces of advice, I can give you guys advanced sales technique, but you're just gonna keep getting better and better the longer you stay here, right? Um, and so
It's the
I
same thing
love
with
that.
content too. Like, I think Alex Hermosi was talking to Grant Cardone about like content, and this is before Hermosi got big. And Grant Cardone's like, dude, look, the reason why I'm so much bigger than you is like, come and look at my account. And he had like 10 times the amount of videos that Hermosi had. So he's like, hey, it's not that I'm better than you. I just put out way more than you do. Right. And maybe I've been able to gain more fans and now I'm more popular. It's the same thing, whether it's like reps on cold calls, whether it's reps talking to agents. It's just, hey, you got to get better. You're going to get better by producing more and taking more shots.
Yeah, 100%. And then I also wanted to ask you about that because I find that what's also really interesting is like you're very popular on social media, right? I mean, I found you off Instagram. I think you had like 80K followers or something like that. So what's
Right.
interesting is
The foreigners love me, bro. I don't know why. The foreign people
yeah,
love me.
it happens. I have like a good I think it's like I got like 5% from the Philippines or something. I'm like, I think you guys are just BAs trying to get me to hire you or something like that. I don't know.
I get nonstop messages like, "Hey, man, you need me to you need something?" Like people are always asking me.
Right. It's crazy. But what I'm curious about, because it's so interesting to me, since you've decided on this lifestyle of just being like, hey, it's just going to be me and a BA, I'm happy here. Like, I don't really need to go absolutely insane with the wholesaling. For you, what are you trying to get out of the social media? If you're not trying to grow a huge team, like for you, what do you want the social media to turn into? Because I find that really interesting.
Yeah, so the reason why I'm so heavy in telling people what I do about my lifestyle is because when I first started wholesaling, I did it all wrong. If we talk about like my first deal I did, it's like the classic scenario of like everything that can go wrong if you wholesale the wrong way. And if you wholesale the way I teach you, the painless way, you won't have these issues. And basically that's why I'm doing this is because when I first started, I blew through money because that's what they told me. They're like, once I started making money wholesaling, I started with $0, but once I started making money, I literally just blew the money. Like on mailers, I would spend it on pay per
Right.
click, I'd spend it on text. So I think that happens to a majority of people. Like they try cold calling or texting or doing something for free, and they realize, oh, this isn't working like I thought it would. Let me spend money because that's what everyone says, like market, and then they blow their money marketing. So my goal is to teach people how to do it the painless way, like the without blowing marketing dollars, and
I love
also like
that.
the proper way to go about it. And last part is I do coach, I do teach, I mentor. When I joined any coaching program on my way up, it was always like I thought I was getting mentored by like the actual guy, the influencer or whatever, like one on one. That's what I thought I was getting. That's what usually got pitched.
Right.
And then I join, and then I'm like on a call with like 100 people or like 30 people or whatever. And I have to wait like an hour and a half to talk to the coach to ask like one question. So it's just like, man, this is stupid. I just want a mentor. So what I provide is like a one-on-one mentorship. Like you have a question, you have a one-on-one mentor, like a mindset mentor and a one-on-one real estate coach. Now I don't always do those one-on-one sessions, but I have designated coaches that do because I know that's what I wanted. I just want a mentor, not a group, not a community. I want a mentor. So that's why I'm so heavy on social.
Interesting. So that is a really interesting perspective, and I want to talk with you about it because for me, I've basically only been a part of communities, and communities I do find it annoying where it's like an hour and a half or whatever waiting to get your question answered sometimes. But I've been part of communities like Sub Two, Astro. I don't know if you've heard of these ones, but like they gave me personally what I needed. I never felt like I felt like one-on-one mentors. Um, they would help, but like as long as I got the question answered, it was fine. What's your philosophy, or what have you noticed where it's like, no, I want like a one on, I want to be providing that one-on-one service. What is that like? What have you seen the difference in your students? Like, I find that just interesting because
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
definitely one of the only people I know who does that.
Yeah, I think it just depends on what the person wants. Like I've talked to a lot of people that are part of communities, like you're talking about, that like come on and talk to me. They're like, "Look, I just want someone that can answer my questions, that can mentor me." So I think that, and that's what I wanted. Like for example, I joined Jerry Norton's program, and shout out Jerry Norton, he's
Right.
my main guy. And luckily I was able, like me, have a cool relationship, and I would say he is my mentor. Obviously through the program he is, but like even deeper, like what I want. And it just depends what they desire. Like if I would say you are probably a different breed or a different person than other people that probably need more hand holding. There are a lot of
Yeah.
people that are probably in those communities that don't want to speak up and say, hey, I really want a one-on-one person, not just a community. But they're not saying anything because maybe they're afraid to just be out open and honest, and maybe they feel like they're going to get attacked. But I'd say if
Fair.
a majority of the people in there that aren't getting what they need or feel like they need, they'd rather have someone to talk to like one on one.
That's fair. No, I mean I get it. I'm a pretty self-sufficient type of guy a lot of times, and I literally only need one question answered usually per week. I
Right.
don't usually there's like one critical one. I do it and then I create a new problem. So it's interesting. I just find it. I find everything about you interesting. Just so you know, the fact that you're one person
Thank you,
with a
bro.
VA and you're like, I'd rather keep doing that. Your
Yeah.
community slash mentorship program sounds very different. Almost everyone I've ever had on here is like, yeah, the one-on-ones they can't scale it or anything, or it's really hard to, right? So it's just interesting. You're doing it your way, the way that works for you, right? So
Yeah, man.
I like that.
Scale's like a bad word in my opinion, like a lot of the times, because sometimes people will
Yeah,
try to scale and they're like, bro, you ain't ready to scale. You just started a week ago. Like, don't think about
right,
scaling. Like, you need to make money. Um,
right,
so, that was my problem. Like as a brand new wholesaler, like every event, every community, whatever I went to, they'd be like, scale, scale, scale. So I fell into that trap of being like, okay, well, they said to hire a team. They said to get an office. They said to spend a ton of money and feed the people leads. But I hadn't developed as a leader yet, or as a business, like an entrepreneur, to even like manage a scaled company. So it just
right.
didn't work out. So I think a lot of the time is like the skill sets that are required to build a business like that and into scale. A lot of the students or the people learning brand new aren't ready. And that's kind of what they're being taught. And I think it's kind of hurting them before they are able to get there. Like, yeah, be consistent getting like 1 to 2 deals a month before like you try to hire like a team of people to call, because you got to
100%.
provide leads for the people. You have a CRM. You have to know how to track. You have to know how to do data. Booking, like all this stuff is so important. But again, I think people want to scale because they want to get out of the dirty work. They're like, oh man, this sucks. Let me have someone else do it. And it's like, you don't really know how to hire or how to train people because you haven't built the muscle yet.
Yeah, 100%. And I 100 to 100% agree that like people scale way too quickly. They don't know what they're doing. It's a whole different skill to be able to do it on your own versus like scaling an entire team, right? And
Yep.
it gets like very, very difficult to do that. And you have to hit like first off to be a successful wholesaler just on your own, you're in the top 5% of people who've ever tried this minimum. Then to have it work where you're not in the business at all, like what everyone's quote unquote dream,
Bro.
right? You're the top one of 1%. And even then, they're spending years and years and making very little money in comparison to the person who's just going one, just them and another virtual assistant because you get to keep almost all of the money, right? The way
Yeah.
you're doing it, which is the way that I do it too, there's no marketing costs. You're literally, your overhead is just that VA salary, basically, right?
Mhm.
I can't even imagine if there's any more than that. So
No,
when that happens, like,
maybe like a CRM that's like 97 bucks a month or something. You
yeah,
know?
like something like that, right? And then you're um like you can make like half a million to 600K, 700K, and then keep like 80% of that or 90% of that. And then you've just made yourself a 500K like job, and you're never going to get that anywhere else. So yeah, man,
Yeah.
I just love that. So
And I've
okay,
done both. I've done both.
totally.
So I know,
Yeah,
I know what you actually
right.
like. I even know about like large real estate companies where the owner like that they make 1 million or 2 million, but they're making like 250 to 400,000 after everything. Now they're outside of the business, but still, it's like, bro, that's a lot of risk, and you've had to spend a lot of time. Like I'm sure there's, I just don't want to have to wait and build all that up to do that. I feel like I don't need to wait that long. So
Yeah, 100%. No, I totally agree. And like I said, like the year where it was just me and a virtual assistant, first year I ever did, I made like $0. But then the second year I made like 350K to me. And I still haven't gotten to that since then, actually trying to scale. It's always been
Bro,
less, right?
I
So,
appreciate your honesty, dude, because that's the same. Like when I was building, I think one year, like my best year, I was like close to 1 million in revenue with our
mhm,
wholesaling company. But like taking
yeah,
home, it was like splitting it because I had a business partner. Was like
right.
not,
100,
yeah,
150,
exactly, bro. So it's just like
something like that.
this sucks.
Yeah,
Like yeah,
you just gotta know, right? Like for that to work, you got to get to like 3, 4, 5, $6 million in revenue. So like that's what has to happen for it to like actually work out. Otherwise, if you're intent on wholesaling, I think everyone should just wholesale and keep it as like one other person, right?
yeah,
Um,
like
so
Brent
anywho,
Daniels. I think we know Brent Daniels. Like he's got a
yeah,
good like a good squad, like a good solid team. It's a smaller team, I would say. Like it's not he
yeah,
doesn't
it
have like a
is
giant sales floor. When I
12
was building
people.
up, yeah, like when I was building my team up, like I was like trying to get as many as I could. Like you just have to keep it small and you have to keep it tight, and like you have to have good people if you're gonna do it. But if you're gonna like bring in like C players and not A players, then you're gonna suffer because you're gonna have to be canning people.
Yeah.
You're gonna be wasting leads. Anyway, I'm just giving everybody the juice right now. I don't know how deep we want to
No,
get
I
into.
agree. No, I agree, bro. Who knows, man? Like right now, I really like my business partner, and it is working well, and we are growing, right? But
Mhm.
I 100% like see the other side, and I let people know. It's like I tell people like a lot of times, like if you're like just realize for you to like scale a business and then get it to where it's like 300 through 400 500K a year to you, like that means you're talking like 3 4 5 million. So I just yeah no, I think it's just good for people to know that, right?
Yeah.
um so yeah, man. Here's the thing, I'm gonna also be devil's advocate, right? Like in the terms of like what I think people who are watching who maybe are trying to scale a business, like they're when they're thinking of like that lifestyle, it's like, okay, but the issue is Nathan, like how much are you working as a solopreneur, right? Aren't I going to be working less as I hire more people who are going to be doing more of the job roles, or is that wrong? Or is that wrong thinking in your head?
Huh. I don't know. Like I really enjoy what I do, so the time flies. I don't really look at it too much like, hey, I'd like to be working less. I will say when I was, built the team, you're still working a lot. You have to make sure that, your employees are working, they're there, they're hitting
Yeah.
their goals. So, um, and that's another thing. Like I'm not doing this so I don't have to work, and I wouldn't scale a business so I didn't have to work. Like I like working. It keeps me busy. So I just do this because of the lifestyle. Like I get to spend time with my family. I believe, like, I just had a daughter, so I get to spend as much time with her as I want. I only work 4 days a week. I don't work on Monday. Get to spend all day with my baby on Monday. So it's just more of like, hey, this time when I'm young or until like I'm 40 or 50, like that's probably the best time to spend with my family. And then obviously my daughter's gonna be like old. She's gonna be out of the house. Then I can go grind when nobody wants to hang out with me when I'm an old geezer. I'm not gonna retire when I'm like, that's not my goal. Does that make sense? Like, I'm not trying to get out of
No,
work later.
totally.
I'm trying to get out of work working that hard now.
Yeah, no, totally. It totally makes sense. And honestly, like for the type of money you're probably making being a solopreneur, like it's also just it's so worth it in the sense you can just do that. You don't have any business partners and all that stuff. Like it totally makes sense, man. And yeah, I like it a lot, right? Because like, yeah, you're right. I mean, people in this industry are lying. It's like they're like, oh yeah, 2 million in revenue. It's like, great. How much did you keep?
Wow.
Right?
Exactly.
You
That's
know?
my message for everyone, because we all see the big checks flashing, like, oh wow,
Yep.
you made 80,000, but it took a year for you to get that 80,000, and
Right.
you spent like 20,000 on coaching, 60,000 on marketing, your opportunity cost. So like, I'm not poo-pooing on people that do that. I'm just saying like, hey, let's be real with each other and say, hey, what are you really trying to accomplish? And if what you're trying to accomplish is scale, then freaking go for it. But just know it's going to take some time. And if you're looking to make money, then get to work.
100%. So cool, man. Well, I love that. And then, so let's go through your story a little bit, right?
Okay.
So you go through the story, you start out. How did you like find your business partner? I'm actually used to people taking a while to find a business partner. Like, did you instantly find this business partner or like what happened?
Yeah. Great question. So it was just one of my roommates in college. Um, in college,
Nice.
I was doing door to door, like I told you, and I was always trying to recruit because I built up teams and they sold with me in the summer. So I would always try to recruit my buddy, be like, bro, come and sell, man. You're gonna make some good money. We only have to work for a couple months, and he'd be like, nah, man, I'm gonna stay here and I'm gonna do real estate. So his dad was a wholesaler in Missouri. So he was doing lease options, like wholesaling in Idaho, where we went to college, and I would go sell, and I'd be like, bro, we basically just try to recruit each other, right? Like try to get each other to work together. So I never did, but after I graduated not high school, college, I was like, man, I don't want to do door to door anymore. And but I was like, what can make me good money with my sales skills? And I was like, oh, real estate. Right. So then I called him and I said, hey man, what are you still doing that? And he's like, nah, I got a tech job. I was like, well, let's go all in, quit your job, I'll quit mine. Let's go all in on, real estate, wholesaling. And I didn't know anything about wholesaling other than like, let's go find someone who wants to sell. And he's like, okay, let's do it. So I brought him because I didn't know anything about real estate other than I had the hustle and the grind. And he had what I thought he knew more, but I found out quickly that he didn't know that much when we got
Right.
together. But it was at least it was fun to work with a buddy. And the reason why, again, I got a partner in the beginning immediately was because, again, it's for me, it's more about like the experience and the fun. Not necessarily that it was fun, but like I want to enjoy my work life instead of just being like money, 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 money. It's more of like experience, learning, networking, growing with others. So that's another reason why I chose to just work with them right off the bat.
I love it. I love it so much. And then so you were so you did that, you had a business partner, you're having fun with it. Um, was you so how did you why did you eventually decide to start hiring people? What was kind of going through your mind? And yeah, let's like just start there because that's been like the topic of our conversation.
Yeah.
It's been like scaling and not scaling.
So made us want to like hire more people eventually when we started?
Yeah.
It was drinking the Kool-Aid of scaling. That was it.
Yeah.
Because like
Okay.
everything we consumed, like I think we spent like $7,000 to go to like an all-in seminar with Carlos Reyes and Shal Shakur, I
Right.
think. And so we went there, and the whole time they're like, build a business, get an office. So we were just drinking that, like, oh, let's build an office. Let's get a giant office. So as soon as we came back from that, we bought like an office we couldn't really afford. Well, we didn't bought, but we like rented a giant office,
Right.
started hiring people, started bringing in leads. And, I'm not saying we didn't lose money, but it just was like, it was a lot of work. And, obviously now I would be way better at running it. But it's a learning experience, right? But that's why we did it, scaling, because that's what we were told
Gotcha.
to do.
No, it makes sense, right? Is there like a time in your future where you would consider trying that again and maybe doing it this time with like maybe a different business partner or trying again or what are you thinking about that? Or do you think just solopreneur, just get enough money where you can eventually lend out your money and just live off that? That's also something I've thought of where it's like, man, if you want the lifestyle thing, like that's not a bad way to do it. Is just get wholesale till you have like 4 or 5 in the mil in the bank and then just become a hard money lender and you could live off that forever.
That's a good question. I haven't really thought about building up that model again of like, let me get some acquisition reps. Let me get me some. I don't personally think that's the best model to go by. So no, I
Right.
wouldn't do that. If I were to do it, like I would specifically target NODs and probates, and I would just continuously mail them for the rest of their lives until that property sold. And I would just do those deals like here and there, because those take time, but I would be consistent with the marketing. If I was to do off market, right, it would just be NODs, probates, consistently just hitting them up. And in the model I do right now, painless flipping is like you're known in your market as a company that has like good relationships with buyers. You can dispo. So I would more
Mm.
build that model of like, hey, painless flipping, man, these are the guys to go to that they can get you your offers real quick, and they have great buyers. They're honest and easy to work with. That model, I think, whether you want to call it like the New Western, the Keegley, the Net Worth, the Realty, Roof One, I mean, you name it, they're popping up all over the world, all over the place. Like,
It's the better model
it's a better model.
by
You know,
far,
by
by
far.
far,
1 billion% better
easily.
model. Because I was just talking to my team this morning about it. It's like, what is our model? What is the painless living model? Like, all it is like you already have like thousands of acquisitions people working for you, and you just have to be a better dispo team than their team, right? You just got to be better at selling or finding a better buyer. So I could show you like thousands of deals I can look at right now, but I just have to be $1,000, 5,000, 10,000, whatever, better than their best buyer, and I make money. Like no risk, no marketing spend, and again, I just have to be better or quicker. That sounds like a good model to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I mean, I definitely think that's the best model by far, especially for wholesaling real estate. I think most people should go for that. Direct to seller is great. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just such a harder model to do. I think it's just harder in
Well,
general. Like I
it,
I do most of mine through real estate agents. That's like
yeah.
my thing. I work with wholesalers too, but like those are like really special relationships. But at being a dispo powerhouse, it's just so much better.
It's
Like
so much.
so much better.
Like people say, like, let me get into wholesaling because it's risk free. Like, not if you do the traditional way. Like if you go out and you have like a marketing campaign, or like you're doing pay per click or any sort of marketing, that's not risk free. Like you're putting out money every month. And if you don't get deals to cover your marketing expenses, like you're in the hole. So it is risk.
Right.
There's risk. And that's kind of like what I didn't really like take account for when I first started. Like when I first started, I was cold calling myself. I was knocking doors. So that you could say that's just your time. But eventually, when you want to scale, there's a lot of risk involved. There's teams, there's payments, there's like salaries. Like, yeah. So that's fine. It's a business. Like that's what most businesses are like. But if you want to do it really risk free, you do it the painless way, or like you're doing it. I just call it the painless way because I'm trying to brand it. But that's
Yeah,
pretty much
no
it.
worries. It's a great name. I love the name of it. So real
Thank
quick, talk about the painless way. Like, is there anything that differentiates it from like Keegley or New Western or anything? Like, was there anything that you were like, okay, this is my little touch to that type of model though?
To be honest, I don't know much about what those guys like. I haven't taken any of their courses or done much about what they do, but I do know like
Hmm.
somewhat like New Western. The way they work is like they separate their dispo and their acquisitions, and they don't really communicate very well. Like the dispo team doesn't really know what the acquisition price is, or like they kind of keep it like separate. Like I would say like me, it's like the transparency working with the buyer. Like I call buyers and I'm like, hey, hey, I got this deal. I see that this deal is, you probably saw it, went out for 260. I personally know that the wholesaler has their best offers like 250 or whatever, or I know that they can go way lower. So it's like me, the transparency, being able to like sell the deal to the buyer. I would say that's like what I'm good at, and what I'm good at teaching is like, there's thousands of deals that these buyers are seeing right now. Like, I am better at getting them sold, and I'm better at knowing why it's a good deal for them to look at. Because I was just sitting with a buyer. I just went to lunch with a buyer, and he's like, "Bro, I get text from Keegley, and I just look at the deal and it sucks." That's what he's telling me. This is just they're just like, the
Right.
spread is always not even that good. So what I do is I call Keegley and I say, "Yo, Keegley, like, I already know my buyer or is going to be less than this. Like, what's the situation? What's the story? Like, cause he's going to want to be at this price." So I try to negotiate and find out where they really are and what they're willing to accept. And then I call the buyer and like, "Hey, this is the situation. Can you get it done? Let's get it done quick." So I don't know what Astra and all those guys do, but mine's more of calling and negotiating on both
Yours
sides
is
to make
more
sure
personal.
it's
No,
more
I get it.
personal. Yeah.
It's much
I,
more personal, which I think is a great model. And honestly, I've been trying to do more of that with my company of being like, why don't we get like 10 buyers who like we could send them anything and be like, where would you be at? And then like that we get like better ideas in general,
yeah. Yeah.
like
And
of what we can sell.
you just nailed like the difference. The difference is like we can sell deals before we even have them under contract. Like that's what the painless way is. Like, for example, if I'm talking to an off market seller and they want 260, I'll call John and be like, "Hey John, they want 260. I don't have it under contract. I'm getting negotiated. Would that work for you, or where are you going to be on that?" He's like, "No, dude, I'd be more around 240." I'd be like, "Okay." I'd call the seller, don't have it under contract still. "Hey seller, 230 and it's done." And that all that is done before I even have it under contract. Same thing with the wholesaler. I'm working with a wholesaler. "Hey, wholesaler, you got it at 240. Let me just check." So I don't ever really need an assignment. I don't need you to lock it up with me. Let me just ask, because I have those relationships, and
Right.
it's easy that way. So I don't have to do paperwork. I don't have to waste time, and it's a quick model.
No, I love it. I love it so much. Yeah, I mean, that's something that I think I want to start implementing definitely a lot with my team. How many buyers do you feel like you have that type of like personal relationship where you can like be like, all right, let's just go to them and see where we're at.
So in Utah, because I've been in Utah for quite a while, it's like probably 10 or 11. Like, seriously, like, I'm cool with,
Right.
and I can just call. In Orlando, we just started there like a couple months ago. It's like 4 or 5. And when we're talking like really tight, I mean, like, I can call them and we can chat. Um, but but it's you really can't, in my opinion, like develop like 50 or 100, right? You got to have like
Yeah,
your go-to people where it's like, "Hey bro, if I hit you up, I got to get a response because they're waiting on me." And not all buyers are going to be willing to do that. But yeah, you don't need that many. You just need a couple that are going to buy and that will do this with you.
100%. No, I like it. So let's talk about it. Like how do you determine whether one of them is going to be that buyer or not? Right? Like how do you determine who you're going to put onto that like VIP, let's just sell it to these guys type of list?
I would say like once you start sending deals and they come in with prices that are reasonable, right? Like, I'm not going to work with someone who's just lowballing me all the time. And I'll even ask them, be like, "Hey man, like, that offer you made, like, obviously I would buy it at that price. Like, you got to give me something like competitive or I'm not going to be able to work with you." So I would say, like, are they reasonable, or are they just like lowballing everything, right? Does that make sense? They got to be
Yeah,
able to
yeah,
pay a good
100%.
amount. So they got to be responsive, because the as a wholesaler or as like a dispo powerhouse, you have to have answers like that. You need to go see the house. You need to be able to take action. Can you put your EMD in like right now? Like, not just, "Oh, let me get my EMD. It'll take me a couple days." Like, no. And are they able to do more than like one deal a month? Because you don't want you don't want to build that relationship with one guy who can take one deal every 6 months. It's like, well, that's not going to really help me out. So there's multiple factors, but it's like they have to be responsive. They got to be willing to give you feedback, even if you don't have it under contract. And you know, all those things just pile up.
Gotcha. Gotcha. No, I like it. I mean, I'm thinking I might like literally implement that with my team right now. I feel like it's hard to do. It's harder to do with a team, but like I think that would be much better a lot of times just doing it where it's like, let's just try to sell to like 10 to 20 people max and see what happens, right? And get it at a price where it works for one of them
Yeah,
first, right? And
I
like
think
and
it's a
like
good idea.
maybe if it's like that or absolutely nothing, then we could go to like a wider variety. But no, I like that.
And the reason why this model is good is because like we all find ourselves in a situation where the seller wants like pretty much where it's not a deal. Like it's like teetering on the fact, like even if you try to negotiate them down, it's like still like if it's if if you can get a deal that's like 50% of Zillow or way discounted, then you don't need to like ask anyone if they would buy it. But a lot of the things
Right.
where we're finding ourselves is like this could be a deal, as it could not be a deal if I were to wholesale it. And I don't want to tell the seller I can buy it and then, waste their time, waste my time. Because that's what we did for a long time in my company. Like we would just our model was like, let's just give it a shot. Let's just try it. And
Right.
we'd send it out. It would waste dispose time, acquisitions time would like the morale of the company would go up and down. Like we would get it wasn't even exciting to get a house under contract sometimes. We were just like, okay, well, we'll see. We don't even know. So, that's really demoralizing to like work really hard with a off market seller and then find out you came and sell it and then renegotiating doesn't work. So anyway, it's just way better to know. And if it's too tight, just ask somebody.
Right. No, I 100% understand. No, I like that a lot. Like it is, and it's just good points. Like, why not just send it to like the 10 first, right? If you're like really close on something, you're not 100% sure, right? So no,
Yeah.
I love that. That's like a great, solid idea, right? Um, so yeah, I'm gonna talk to my business partner about that, about like being like, let's just like do this for ones that are close. Like
Yeah.
if we're like not sure, right? Like if it's obvious, then like fuck it, whatever.
Yeah. If
But if
it's
it's
obvious,
not
it's
as
easy.
obvious,
Just
why
lock
not?
it up.
Yeah, exactly. Um, so cool, man. I love it. So then 3 day weekends, love it. Work really hard for 4 days, but then take a 3 day weekend, just be with the kid. Wait, is your daughter born yet, or do you have kids yet, or?
Oh, bro, she's born. She just turned 6 months
Oh,
yesterday,
nice,
dude.
love it.
I'm gonna show you.
Awesome,
I'm
beautiful.
gonna show you a pic, bro. Let's see. This
How does
six.
that feel? How does it feel to be a dad?
Man, it's the greatest thing ever, dude. It's like that's all I want to do is hang out with my baby. All I want to do is
Yep.
work and hang out with my baby. Those are the two
Yeah.
things.
No, I
Uh,
like it.
let me see. Let me see. 6 months. Look at that.
Beautiful,
Isn't
beautiful
that
daughter.
isn't that crazy?
I love it.
That's wild.
I love it. So let's switch steps a little bit, getting off of wholesale a little bit. Let's talk about social media,
Okay.
right? What do you feel like has made you successful in this realm? Do you feel like it's the same thing we were talking about, where it's just like it's just keep putting out content over and over again, or is it like if someone's trying to get like more successful in social media, what would you say to them?
Dude, social media is an enigma. It's crazy. I've you can ask 10 different people and they'll all give you experts and they'll give you different answers. They'll say like hooks are what's important, or you got to catch them in the
Right.
first 3 seconds, or you got to like, I personally believe that like sometimes social media catches on to like some people differently than others. Like it'll promote some guy just because he's got a funny accent and people like watch him more. Does that, like, what I'm saying? Like maybe somebody's
Totally.
quirky or people are like, oh, I that guy's interesting. Like for example, on TikTok, like I've been on TikTok like trying to figure out how to break into TikTok, and I'll make a video that like says the exact same thing as some like 17-year-old that's kind of a nerd. I'm not like roasting him, like it's cool to be a nerd, but he's just kind of a nerdy guy. So I think if he says it versus me, people are like, oh, what, this kid's making, he just did this deal and he's teaching this, and like let's watch this because this is just more interesting. So I think a lot of it has to come into like your personality, the way you present things. For me, the reason why I think I've been able to grow is just straight consistency. I don't think I've like people
Yeah.
watch me and are like, hey, this guy's super cool or this guy's so fun. I don't think I have anything that really shoots me out like in front of other people, other than I just put out a ton of content and that's it. That'd be
I
cool if, like,
doubt that. I feel like it's also partially you. You've got like a good personality. Trust me. I've had people on here who I'm like, wow, this is a boring conversation. And I guarantee that's not happening right now. Like this is like an
oh man,
interesting conversation,
that
right?
I've had those as
Um,
well, where you're just like, ah, man, this sucks for me.
yeah,
But
right.
just
And it's
do
just
it,
like,
yeah.
all right, I'm gonna end the podcast early or whatever. So um so personality, consistency, doing it a lot. Like what's your schedule of releases? Like what are you releasing? How much are you releasing? All that stuff.
It was less, but now it's 2 shorts or reels a day on all platforms, and then 1 long form. I do 5 long form videos on YouTube a week, and 2 shorts,
Nice.
and then on all the other platforms, it's 2 reels, 2 shorts, or some posts, and it's just nonstop. Just
That's
that's all I do.
crazy. That is a lot of content to be releasing and also wholesaling or having a wholesale company and like doing it solo.
I wouldn't be able
Like,
to
how
do
are
the
you
content. I'm not doing the content. I hired some VAs to help me with that side. Yeah.
well with editing it, but you still got to film it. It's still got to be you, right? And you say, and you maybe come up with the ideas.
Yeah, so with the filming, most of my content is me doing wholesaling or taking action.
Gotcha. So
And
you're doing it anyways.
I'm doing it anyways, and that's what I want to watch, and I figure that's what people want to watch as well, because like I can't really stand like talking head videos where people just explain something. I'm like, everybody
Yeah.
can do that. Let me show people me actually doing it. So that's been easy to film, and then one Friday a month, or like sometimes I'll do a little bit more, but just once a month I'll film for like the whole day, and then we'll just cut those up and use that.
Nice.
So that's when I was trying to get big into TikTok, or like try to break into that. Like I was telling you, like it was a lot of work, but my personal opinion on TikTok is like people just get lucky.
Yeah, no, I definitely get that. And then yeah, I mean the one Friday a month that totally makes sense. And then so when you're filming yourself, right?
Mhm.
Just doing something, do you just get like a tripod, put your phone up, or like how do you film yourself while you're doing whatever you're doing?
In the beginning, it was StreamYard on the laptop, right? Just like talking to the camera and filming and
So you were
sharing my
just like
screen.
streaming.
Either streaming, or like if I had an idea and I didn't want to go live, I would just do it and talk to the camera like this, right? Um, and it's evolved over time. Like most of the time, it was just on my computer. That was most of the content, and then it was, a tripod. Now I have a teleprompter I bought that like I'm able to come up with a script using Chat GPT, and then I just read off what needs to be said on that and then film myself. So it's been an evolution, but in the beginning, it was just filming myself working.
Gotcha. Love it. It makes sense. Yeah, I mean, it totally makes sense. Definitely works, right? And then how about the coaching program? Like the thing is like, do you have? It's interesting to me. Is like you have maybe you don't have huge teams for each of them, but do you have like? It sounds like you have different VAs for different companies, right? Like for the coaching and stuff like that. How do you? You said you had other coaches for the coaching company, or how does that work?
Yeah, have you read the book Who Not How, or do you know the concept
Yeah,
behind Who Not How?
yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah,
all it's been, is like, look, I could coach everyone myself, which I did in the very beginning, or I could get like all-star coaches who like are better than me, and let me just send the clients or the students that I work with, and obviously we work with them, but let's give them that additional one-on-one help on the mindset, because half of it is mindset. I'd say more of wholesaling is mindset in the beginning, and then
yeah.
a real estate coach. So Who Not How, let's get the best people to do the work versus me trying to do it all like I did in the very beginning.
Gotcha. And then who did you find? How did you find the people who are your coaches now? Were they people who also did wholesaling, or were they like more coaches that were looking for a job, or how did that work?
Networking. It's all about networking, getting in the room with the best people in the industry. So I've joined multiple masterminds in the last couple of years, learned from like the best. And I met a company called Achieve Today that helps, that I've networked, and we worked out a deal, and that's who I work with on the coaching side. And, on the marketing side, worked with someone else that came from the mastermind. So again, it's just connecting with the right people that are the industry leaders and making sure you have the best.
I love that. Awesome. Cool. Cool, cool, cool. Yeah,
And
no,
I'll
it
say, I'll say
totally.
one last thing, is if that's cool.
No, go.
um, about like if I were to ever like build the traditional model of wholesaling, I would never do my own marketing again. Because when I first started, that's what I thought I had to do. I was like, okay, I got to hire some virtual assistants. I got to get them on the Mojo dialer or the call tools or whatever, monitor that, put lists in there. And that's what I did. But now, obviously, like, I'm not an expert marketer. I'm not the expert at like knowing what lists to pull or like how to scrape the data or whatever. I'm hiring that ish out to like the best people. Same with pay per click, same with whatever. So I know a lot of people can't do that in the beginning because it costs money. But now, from learning what I know now, it's like, just don't let that consume your thoughts, like drain your energy. Like, get the right people in the right seats, and that's the best way to scale. Is not just trying to figure out how to do everything and wear all the hats. You got to delegate and find the right who's.
No, totally makes sense. Although I don't think you should ever do it again. I mean, you can scale the JV model or the
I know,
agent
yeah,
model, right?
yeah,
I would
yeah.
just rather do that always. I look at direct to seller, I'm like, you guys are crazy. This is just so much harder than
Bro.
like doing the JV slash agent model. I'm like worried that my model, and it probably will just eventually get so saturated that like it actually becomes better to do direct to seller eventually. I feel like different things goes in ebbs and flows, right? But
I
I don't know.
I agree. So that's kind of like why I like the model that I do, is like the relationship based, because eventually you're gonna have so many of these JV models out there that are just emailing crappy deals. That's what's
Right.
happening right now. Like, if you, no offense to Keegley, but they're franchises, so you can't really do quality control on every franchise and make sure people don't send out
Yeah.
crap. So what I do is I call the wholesaler and say, hey, no offense, but like, your deal, it doesn't make sense for most buyers. Like, what do you have it under contract for? Or like, where can we make this make sense so I can get my buyer in, or we can get this done? So I think my model is actually going to be better as more wholesalers come in and do the JV route, because we're going to get down to the bottom line and be like, hey, bro, no one's responding to your emails because your deal sucks.
Yeah, 100%. No, I agree, man. And like you've inspired me definitely to talk to my dispo people and my dispo team and my business partner about like why don't we like to focus more on this right now? Like we get like 10 max 10, 15 buyers who like we're like we show them like everything that's even close in our opinion
Yeah.
and just try to get opinions on it, right?
Yeah.
Before we even necessarily lock it up. I like that idea a lot,
Yeah.
right? Um yeah, and just get their criteria super down to the scaling. So
Let
I
me know
like
how
it
it
a lot.
goes. Yeah. Let me know how it goes, because
Yeah,
there are buyers that literally just sit there and they look at deals all day, bro. Like, that's just, I have a buyer that's just like,
yeah,
every email I get, I look at, right? And a lot of them don't make the offer. They'll just look at it and be like, this deal's not good. I'm not gonna. So like, if you can give them even a step up and be like, hey, this is a deal, but we're in negotiations. Where would this need to work? They're gonna love you. They're gonna be like, oh, sweet. So you'll let me know. You really want to know what I'd offer? And then you're like, yeah, man, if you give me a price, I can get it done. Let's just have it done already. We don't even have to worry about it. So
yeah.
I love it.
I like it a lot. Yeah, I'm gonna have my business partner watch this podcast back for sure. That's definitely gonna be happening. So
Good.
yeah, man, I love it. This has been an awesome podcast so far. Um, we started a little late, so I just want to get a time check on you. Do you have a hard stop at 3, or can you go a little bit longer?
If we need to chat a little bit more, I can go a little bit longer. Yeah.
For sure. So I'll start with this. So Um, I usually start ending the podcast with 2 questions,
Okay.
basically, right? One is what were like your most formative books or pieces of content or something that someone should watch if they really want to be doing, let's say, wholesale real estate?
You know what? I haven't really read any books that have to do with real estate that have like really influenced me on like how to attack just real estate in
Or
general.
just business, or
Business
just
books.
business or life or whatever. Just
Okay.
your
Gotcha.
favorite piece of content that would help someone.
Let me grab them, because if you can see, like, I'm really big into reading. I got my bookshelves back there. So right
Yeah.
there, I'll just go grab it. Let me see if I can. So
Go grab
10x.
it.
So right there, I'm just pointing at it. I'll grab it.
You can go grab it. Go grab it.
So this book is really good. So 10x is easier than 2x by Dan Sullivan and Dr. Benjamin Hardy. They're the ones. He's the one that did Who Not How and The Gap and the Gain. This book is dope. So this book talks about like,
Nice.
cutting the things that are 2x, like the things that are taking up a majority of your time. It's like the 80-20 principle, right? Like most of the things that
Yeah.
are sucking your time are the ones that you probably should cut, and you should focus on bigger fish. So I'll give you an example for our coaching company. Like we used to focus on like a 997 product, in the sense of like join this program. We'll give you the course. We'll give you everything like that. And that's fine. But then we were like, hey, you know what? Honestly, like most of the students that are succeeding, and the best we can give are the people in like the one-on-one mentorship. It is more expensive, obviously, because you get like more attention, but those are the best people to work with. They require the least amount of work. When we were working with the 997, a lot of like questions, a lot of complaints, and it was taking more of our work, and we were making less. So it was like, let's focus on that. Right. And it's kind of the same thing with the
Yeah.
wholesale. It's like, hey, what's taking most of our time and energy? Well, it's working with sellers, it's dealing with title issues, it's dealing with all these problems. Yes, we're making money, but it's sucking most of our time. What's making us the most money is, just like, let's dispose some deals for people that are good deals. So it's like that. Just focus on what is making you more and requiring less of your time. And that's kind of what the book's about.
I
So
love
read
it.
this.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I love it. And then the last question I usually end this with is basically, if you were to go back to your foremost self, you're right when you're about to start wholesaling real estate, what would you change? What would you tell that version of Nathan then, knowing everything that you know now?
Don't try to scale so fast.
Hmm.
That's what I would say.
Or
I'd
at
say, hey,
all.
or at all, because like a lot of the headaches and the heartaches or whatever, like you learn, right? So I've learned a lot by doing that and try to go that route. But I would say, hey man, like if you just stick in this and like don't try to hire cold callers or build a team up, it's honestly like what my wife told me the whole time. She's like, hey, just stick at it like for 2 years and just like get really, really good at it. But I always was like, nah, I got to build this $1 million business. I got to like grow this thing big. So I would just say, hey, slow down. Don't try to get out of the tough work or the grind so fast and try to get someone else to do it. But like master it and then grow and scale. So that's what I would tell myself. Like, be cool with doing the hard work for a little bit longer.
Gotcha. Gotcha. I love it, man. I love it. Do you have any last words? Like, do you have anything that people should check you out? I mean, everyone should go to Nathan. It's Nathan Payne on Instagram. Where should people go to find you? Where can they send you deals? Is there anything else they should check out about you? Like anything we should be plugging that's coming up or anything like that?
Yeah, so I have a free master class that I do every Thursday that explains my model, like
Nice.
exactly what I'm teaching. It's today at 4. It's every Thursday, so it's today at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's free to join. It's at Painless Flipping, Pain PAYNELESS, painlessflipping.com. You guys can check that out. And YouTube is like where I'm really trying to grow because I like YouTube. It's one of the platforms I use. So if you just go to Nathan Payne or Painless Flipping on YouTube, you can see like more of what I am about. I do a lot of what I say. I show my screen. I teach you how to do it. So if you want to learn how to do it, go subscribe and check out my YouTube channel. I would say those are the two places where I would want you to go. Go to masterclass or go to YouTube. Either one's perfect to learn. And then you want to connect with me, just you know how to do it. You DM me on anything.
Awesome, bro. Well, this has been an amazing podcast. Stay afterwards. There's some cool things. I want to talk to you about a few things too off the podcast, but are there any last words right now?
I would just tell people that are getting into wholesaling to, like, if you're getting into this because you're like, oh, this is so easy, like any business that you're trying to learn, anything you're trying to do, it requires work and it's going to be tough in the beginning. Like I was talking to someone that wanted to get into wholesaling because they're getting out of car sales and like, yo, car sales sucks, man. Let me get into wholesale. I'm like, hey, Mero, it's going to suck here too. That's just how it is. You got to learn. You're not going to be able to come in here and just crush it. Like you got to go through the fire, right? You got to get scorched a little bit. And
Yeah.
so I would just let everyone know that it's important to have realistic expectations. That if you want to master any skill, you're gonna have to fail a little bit to master what you're trying to figure out. So
Totally makes sense. Nathan, it's been a pleasure, my man. I appreciate you. Guys, next week, same old, nothing crazy that next week, just Cash Flow and Coffee, which is my podcast, 9:50 a.m. MST. If you guys want to come and ask questions, it's going to be my YouTube, which is just my name. And then we'll do another episode of Scorch of Fears next week with an awesome guest. Nathan, you've been awesome. This is episode 109. I'll see y'all next week. Let's freaking go.